You know the exact scene. You walk into the garden center, past the bedding plants, and head straight to the fertilizer aisle. The shelves are stacked floor to ceiling with heavy bags of premium green-up and slow-release granules. It's a highly effective, but incredibly expensive modern trap.
When you actually sit down and do the maths, an average household with a lawn spends between 100 and 250 pounds a year just to keep the grass looking green. Multiply that across the 30 or 40 years most people live in one house, and you're looking at 4,000 to 8,000 pounds spent on bags of synthetic fertilizer over a lifetime. It is, quite frankly, an endless cycle.
Today, we're going to step away from that cycle. We'll look closely at closed-loop systems, specifically focusing on composts, cover crops, and traditional soil amendments, before breaking down the actual honest costs. I farm a small mixed holding, and I'm going to walk you through 7 traditional soil building methods. For every single method, I will provide the honest scope of what it actually delivers and exactly who it does not suit.
Let's look first at that endless fertilizer trap and what the alternative really looks like.
Drive an hour out of any city into farming country, and you'll find small holdings that have been worked by the exact same family for generations. If you dig into that earth, the soil is dark, and it crumbles in your hand like cake. The synthetic cycle we just talked about requires continuous spending for temporary greening, but a closed-loop system builds permanent, cumulative fertility. I'll state it plainly. The family farming that traditional ground has spent nothing on synthetic fertilizer this year, last year, or for the last century. Their fertility comes entirely from within the farm.
So what exactly is this closed-loop soil fertility we're talking about?
A closed-loop system, stated as plainly as possible, is a self-sustaining agricultural practice. It utilizes farm-produced organic matter to permanently build the soil's biology and fertility, entirely without external synthetic inputs. The foundational principle here is practical and grounded. Your soil gets richer every single year through retained resources, rather than becoming depleted and needing a chemical top-up. Before we go any further into the methods, I need to deliver 3 honest caveats, because honesty is what makes this genuinely useful for you. First, working small holdings prioritize productive space over ornamental purity, though these principles will feed an ordinary lawn beautifully. Second, this method is slow. It builds soil over seasons, not overnight. And third, this represents a standard traditional method, not an absolute purist fantasy. I want to give you the honest standard today, without romanticizing a single thing. Let's start with the absolute foundation of it all: composts and organic manures. Composted livestock manure is the bedrock of this entire system, but the honest method is critical here. Manure is never spread fresh. Doing so can scorch your plants and carry pathogens. The correct chemistry requires composting it first. You stack the manure with a carbon-rich material, like straw or sawdust, aiming for a precise ratio of roughly 25 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. For kitchen scraps, you're looking at a 3-to-1 ratio of brown to green material. You turn the pile regularly so it heats up to 65 degrees Celsius through bacterial activity, which naturally kills off weed seeds. After 2 to 4 months, it cures into dark, rich compost. When it comes to applying this, we rely on precise, honest rates. If you're looking at an average suburban lawn, the equivalent of our agricultural application is roughly 1 cubic meter of finished compost per 100 square meters. You spread this as a thin top dressing in early spring or in the autumn before the ground hardens. Now here is the honest scope for composts. You do need access to a source of livestock manure. If you don't keep animals, you can buy composted bags from a garden center, which still builds permanent soil structure for relatively little cost. Remember, never spread fresh manure. And regarding your kitchen scraps, a typical 2-person household produces about half a cubic meter of finished compost a year. That is genuinely useful for a small kitchen garden, but I will state clearly that it is simply too small a volume to feed a full suburban lawn on its own. It has to be combined with other methods. This brings us to another traditional approach: cover crops and rotations. This is one of the most powerful tools in our agricultural tradition. The underlying principle relies on legumes, which have a genuinely remarkable symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria living in their root nodules. These bacteria actually pull free nitrogen gas directly from the atmosphere and fix it into the soil. Winter rye provides excellent winter root growth. Crimson clover and field beans fix strong nitrogen deep down, and white clover can be deliberately integrated into a lawn to provide drought resilience and feed the surrounding grass directly. For the homeowner, the exact application rates are highly practical. In late summer, you sow winter rye seed across bare or thin patches of your lawn at roughly 25 grams per square meter. Let it grow right through the winter months. Then in spring, simply mow it down low before it sets seed. Those roots break down and feed the soil's microbial life. You should also integrate white clover directly into your lawn mix to continuously pull down that atmospheric nitrogen.
Let's look at the honest scope for cover crops and rotations. The largest, most dramatic benefits of this method are seen on open agricultural ground and in large vegetable gardens. On a standard domestic lawn, the benefits are much smaller in scale, though they are genuinely real and measurable. However, utilizing this method absolutely requires a shift in your mindset. You have to accept clover as a beneficial plant, just as traditional pasture management always has, rather than treating it as a weed that needs poisoning.
Next, we move on to traditional soil amendments.
Let's detail the specific elemental chemistry here, because it matters. Hardwood ash from a household fire contains roughly 5 to 7% potassium, which improves plant disease resistance, alongside 3 to 5% calcium. Traditional animal byproducts like bone meal are rich in phosphorus, usually around 15%, and 24% calcium, which is absolutely essential for strong root development. Finally, crushed agricultural lime is used to slowly raise soil pH back toward a slightly acidic to neutral range. This ensures your plants can actually absorb the nutrients you're providing them.
The application weights and ratios here must be precise to be effective. Wood ash is applied at 2 to 3 kilograms per 100 square meters, worked lightly into the topsoil. Do not exceed this rate in a single season. Bone meal is added at roughly 1 tablespoon per planting hole at the time of planting, and crushed agricultural lime is spread at 2.5 kilograms per 100 square meters. You apply this in autumn or early spring so it has time to react in the soil.
This brings us to a crucial honest scope that simply cannot be skipped. Wood ash is only viable if you actually burn wood for heat. If you don't have a working fireplace, this method simply does not apply to you, and I won't pretend everyone has free ash lying around. Bone meal generally has to be purchased from garden centers by modern households. And most importantly, lime must only be applied after a proper soil test confirms your pH is below 6. If you apply lime to soil that is already alkaline, you can do genuine harm. Test first, amend second, never the other way around. Now let's look at the practical reality of this, the costs, and your next steps.
Walk through this precise cost comparison with me. A typical household spends 150 to 250 pounds a year on synthetic fertilizers and seasonal treatments. The closed-loop approach, sourcing local composted manure, using free household scrap compost, and buying basic seeds and lime, totals somewhere around 30 to 50 pounds a year. That is a cumulative saving of 1,000 to 2,000 pounds over 10 years. I will state it clearly, there is considerable corporate profit in selling you bagged fertilizer every single season. There is absolutely no profit in teaching you this quiet, traditional system.
These are the actionable X steps you can build gradually, season by season. This week, simply stop buying synthetic fertilizer. This month, find a local farm or stables for composted manure and get a proper soil test so you know your honest baseline. This autumn, sow your winter rye on the thin patches, overseed your clover, and start saving ash if you have a fire. I want to set honest expectations here. By next spring, the soil will be measurably richer. By year 3, you'll see a dramatic, undeniable difference in how dark and alive your ground is. And by year 5, your mindset will be completely converted.
I want to end by asking you plainly, which of these traditional methods are you going to try in your garden first? Or perhaps your parents or grandparents had their own traditional way of feeding the soil, maybe the manure heap behind the shed or the compost bucket by the back door. Please share those memories in the comments, as I read every single one. Before you spend another weekend spreading synthetic granules over your lawn, ask yourself, are you feeding the soil or are you just feeding a corporate dividend? If this explainer has been useful to you, I invite you to like and subscribe to help others find these honest methods without all the hype. Thank you for your time today. Happy growing.